Email if you can, please.
Just about done. With the new ones in the quarter hour each, I'll power wash these. 6 of them I'll power wash.
Absolutely. We'll do it more often.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think the other one.
How are you, sir?
Very well, myself.
Not bad. That wasn't that long ago. He was wearing a uniform just a couple months ago. Yeah. If you could just do your name, the organization or that you're representing, and the phone number and email, please.
Something I really have to judge with.
Hello. Good, how are you? Only if you're representing an organization or a business. If you're representing an organization or a business. Yeah, we'll have some sign-ups for our citizens later in the evening. So, yeah, absolutely. Good evening. We're ready to start if everyone else is ready. Can everyone hear us? Okay. Well, I appreciate everyone coming here tonight. We have a great turnout. Apparently there's like 175 people online, and I think we have about 175 people here. So that just shows how much our community cares about making a difference here in Ogdensburg. And that's the goal here tonight. We want to look at the problems we're having here in Ogdensburg from as many different perspectives as we can and try to find some solutions. As a police department, our only solution honestly is to arrest people, and that doesn't always come with a positive answer. And we're going to go over why that is tonight. And our hopes is with all of you in this room, we can come up with some different solutions to make this community safer, for all of us once again, because it's not the same Ogdensburg it was just a few years ago. And I think we've all noticed that change. For those that don't know me, my name is Mark Kearns. I'm the chief here in Ogdensburg. I've been the chief since midsummer of 2021. Spent most of my adult life here in Ogdensburg. I'm actually a Messina native. Met a local Ogdensburg girl. We've raised a family here. She's a school teacher here in Ogdensburg. I do not live in the city. I'll be honest with you about that. But Ogdensburg is my home. Vested in this community. I spend more time on these city streets in my life than I have anywhere else. And I care deeply about this community and what happens here. And I do want to make it a better place. And that's honestly why I took the job of chief during a very difficult time. And that's why I choose to stay here as chief. Next to me is Lieutenant Jarrett LeClaire, and I'll let him introduce himself.
As he said, I'm Jared LeClaire. I'm the lieutenant at Ogdensburg. Is this on? Most of you do know me. I was born and raised here. This is a place I never cared to leave. I've loved everything about it. Everybody, from my coaches I can still run into, and friends that I grew up with, and friends, families I can run into. It's something I've always been proud of, being part of the community. I joined the police department to hopefully make a positive impact on the police department. Over the past 10 years, it just seems like an aggressive cancer has taken over. I know all of you here are as frustrated as I am, and I can speak on behalf of all the officers that I work with that they're just as frustrated. It seemingly seems as if we're not making any impact on what we do, and they do a lot. So we'll get into that later, but I'm Jarrett LeClaire, and I'll turn it over to Danielle Price.
Sergeant Danielle Price. I've been here since June of 2007. I recently was promoted just in July 1st. So I've been here for 16 plus years. I'm very familiar with the city, how it's evolved, the change in crimes, crime rates, the types of calls we're responding to, and the involvement of our police department, and which is obviously not as of lately been positive for us as far as our working conditions. So I'm right along with you guys. I'm 40 years old. I have 3 beautiful children at home, a fiance, and I want my home and my community to be just as safe as you do. So I'm going to introduce how the Neighborhood Watch program works, some basic crime prevention that I really think that I need to get out there. It's in regards to a lot of the things that we are seeing. So that I'll be touching on a bunch of that stuff later in the discussion. And Detective Streeter.
I'm Detective Jason Streeter. I'm currently the detective in the back office. Before this, I was our narcotics detective, which is at this point my passion. This is what I like to do. I like to get into the drug work. I like to smash doors in. Because of our staffing levels, I'll be honest, the drug work doesn't happen anymore. I'm not doing it. I don't have time. So with that being said, we're still, as the police department, we're still putting in 24/7 work, 365 days a year. And I'm hoping that as a group, we can come up with something, not to make our jobs easier up here, but just to get some better results in the community. I'm not originally from Ogdensburg, but I've been here 12 years now, and I'm putting my everything into this community to make it as best it can be and get rid of the problems that we do have here.
So besides all of you who are our citizens, who support us, who make us have a police department, you're why we exist, right? Our job is here to serve and protect all of you. We have some stakeholders here that have skin in the game to also serve this community, and they serve the same population that we're serving, whether it's homelessness, substance use issues, because a lot of this all goes hand in hand, mental health issues. And there are great partners, and I'm hoping after tonight, I mean, we already do work great together. I'm hoping to foster a greater relationship with these stakeholders and really learn what each other's capabilities are, the limitations that the police department actually has, and what we're supposed to be doing and not doing. And I'll be honest, as I've told some of these stakeholders, as chief, I am probably ignorant to what all these organizations can actually do. We have more social service type organizations in our city than probably any other community when it comes to helping those in need, and which is wonderful. But how can we put those resources to work, and how can we do that in a speedy and efficient manner? And I'm hoping this is a step in the right direction for that, because I think we all agree that we have a lot of homelessness in this city that's occurred over the last 3 to 4 years, and we need to find a way to get these people off the streets, because crimes are being committed, whether that's just because someone's a criminal, that's one thing, or is it because they're trying to survive, and that's another thing. And so thank you for taking time out of your 9-to-5 job and also being here tonight to see what the issues are within this community.
Chief,
How did we
if I
get
could
here?
interrupt for a minute, Chief. I just was told for the people standing in the back, there's a lot of seats over here. There's some seats in front here too, for those who need to sit and want to sit.
Come on down. So how did we get here? This is my personal and professional opinion. There is 3 things that have occurred in the city of Ogdensburg that has contributed to our crime rate. And that will be our lack of staffing, the increased homelessness, and the drug trends. And in what order or what importance, I'm not an expert in that, but I can give you some statistics and what did occur since about 2019, actually 2018 moving forward on some things that did occur. I'll start with staffing because those are just true facts. We'll just go back to 2020. We had 28 police officers in 2020 and 4 dispatchers. And historically, for many, many years prior to that, we had 27 or 28 police officers. Nothing changed, and we had 4 dispatchers. And one of those officers was funded by the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority, because we're also responsible for airport security out there. And thank goodness for OBPA, because they do fund a police officer, which we desperately need, as they need us to be out there. So that's a wonderful partnership. So that, as recent as 2020, we had 28 officers. With that 28 officers, we had a 5-person investigations unit. The rest were road patrol and 4 dispatchers. And in 2021, we took a dramatic decrease to 23 officers and 3 dispatchers. In 2022, we took another decrease to 18 officers and 2 dispatchers. And thankfully, again, 2 were paid by the Bridge and Port Authority and 1 being paid by the school district. 2023, the current year, budgeted for 19 police officers, 0 dispatchers. Thankfully, 2 were paid for by the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority. And at the beginning of the year, 1 was paid by the school district. But in all reality, these 19 police officers, we did not have 19 police officers this year. 2 were in the police academy for the first 6 months of the year. And by having 0 dispatchers, we had police officers that were working as dispatchers. So that took 2 of your police officers off the road, and they're sitting doing desk duty. So we completely had to eliminate our investigations unit between 2022 and 2023. So we went from having between 2021 to 2023, that 5-man unit was completely eliminated. Detective Streeter spent most of 2023 wearing a uniform, driving a patrol car. We still have 1 detective working the streets. So that's our current staffing. And with the current budget situation in the city of Ogdensburg, that will be our staffing moving forward into 2024. But the budget still is ongoing. So that'll be up to Ogdensburg City Council if they decide to increase our ranks. But that is what is budgeted moving forward. We did expand our school resource officer program, but that has 0 effect on our day-to-day road patrol operations. If you look at page 2 on the agenda that says 2023 Police Department staffing, I just want to make it clear on how many officers you actually have patrolling your streets or not patrolling your streets when you pick up the phone and you're calling for help. On your day shift, you have a sergeant and a patrolman and a 3rd patrolman. And you either have our newly created position, which is an assistant to the chief of police, who's assisting with some desk duties, or you have another officer. Sometimes it's our other detective, or it's a patrolman that's also working the desk. And we also have the airport detail during the day. So typically you only have, again, 2 officers out there actually working the streets during the day. Fortunately, during the day, there's a major incident. You have myself, the lieutenant, and Detective Streeter there that can back these officers up. However, you don't have that same backup when it comes to night shift. We're responsible for desk operations up until 7 p.m., until 11 p.m. At 11 p.m., St. Lawrence County will take over our dispatch operations. So at 7 p.m., when our night shift comes on, you have a sergeant and 2 patrolmen. Well, one of those patrolmen sitting in the desk. So you have 2 officers working. So at 11, when the county takes over dispatch, you'll have 3 cars out there if nobody takes the night off, which are all entitled to contractual time off, as everybody is in their jobs, right? Everyone gets vacation time, everyone gets sick. So you don't always have 3 on. There's more often than not, you have 2. I have to send officers to training. I have to give them nights off because they might have court the next day. So more often than not, at night you have 2. Our closest backup are probably the best 2 agencies in New York State, being the New York State Police and the St. Lawrence County Sheriff's Office. But the realities are, at 11 p.m., the New York State Police has 1 car working from the village of Waddington to the Jefferson County line. 1 car. The Sheriff's Office might have a car over here, but they're running 3 or 4 cars for the biggest county east of the Mississippi. If they have to sit on a prisoner at a hospital, because inmates get sick, right, in the county jail, you're taking a deputy off of the road that has to go and babysit an inmate. So that's taking, they're just as short as we are. You're taking a resource from the county. They're not automatically over here just to assist us either. So you just don't have that immediate backup. I'm just trying to get the realities out there. So what you have most of the time is just our 2 Ogdensburg patrols here to cover 72 miles of road and 10,000 citizens. So that's our status on our staffing for 2023, and it appears that's what it's going to be for 2024. So homelessness, how did we get there? Multiple issues, and I'm going to say it also goes hand in hand with drug trends. Fentanyl has taken a huge hold on the United States of America, and Ogdensburg is not a stranger to that. Fentanyl is in every drug we see, including marijuana. We have sent marijuana to New York State Crime Lab, and yes, positive for fentanyl after we've had overdoses on marijuana. We see it in our crystal meth. We see it in cocaine, and it has caused overdose deaths, and people are thinking they're doing these drugs that are not opiates, but yet fentanyl is in them. Fentanyl is cheap, and it really becomes not a choice for these subjects that are using this drug. That is all that they live for, because they don't have a choice once they start using this highly addictive drug. There's no coming back until they seek some real intensive care. And then there's crystal meth. Crystal meth is dirt cheap, and you can get it anywhere. You can get it through the mail. And it is cheap. It used to be an expensive thing to get around here, but it is not anymore. You don't see the meth labs around here anymore like we used to. I think you can all go back to 2018. We'd have 50, 60, 70 meth labs a year here in Ogdensburg. Our department teamed up with the St. Lawrence County Drug Task Force and some federal counterparts, and we did an amazing job. Very proud of our agencies and the collaborative effort cleaning up the meth lab problem. But those addicted to meth learned that, hey, we can get crystal meth a hell of a lot cheaper anyways. So that's what they moved on to. And because of all these meth labs, those that have received a meth lab manufacturing conviction are no longer eligible for assistance from the government for housing. So whether you shook a bottle ever in your life making meth, but you were part of that meth lab, you provided product for the meth lab, the Sudafed, the batteries, the coffee filters, the ice packs, but you're a part of that cook, and you were convicted of a meth manufacturing charge, federal government says you cannot receive assistance from the government for housing. So that has caused a huge part of our homelessness issue here in the North Country. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, we don't have meth labs anymore, but we have a whole bunch of homeless people because of that. So that all combined is why our city has turned into what it has turned into in the last 4 years, in my professional opinion. And then on top of that, there's been some law reforms that have occurred at the same time that have increased our workload, and we have decreased our manpower. And I will turn it over to Lieutenant Leclerc to discuss those issues.
Again, thank you for coming. It means a lot to me. I'm sure if you all look around and look at each other, it means a lot to you guys to see everybody here who cares about the community. The chief had talked about some of the issues that law enforcement, our officers are dealing with. I'll get into a little bit of the police reform. As you've heard over the last 3-4 years about the police reform, law enforcement officers are supposed to be limited to dealing with mental health. Has not been the case with us. Again, we're short-staffed, and this is a new system, very young, that we're trying to work with the other agencies to assist. The officers are still getting inundated with calls, even from the entities that are supposed to be dealing with it, to handle those mental health patients. And they're not the only entities in mental health. We also have organizations like probation or parole who need our assistance, the hospital that need our assistance. And this is seemingly all at the same time. And again, this police reform is supposed to happen, but it has not seemed to change anybody's a way of doing business. It's call the police department, they'll go check on them. Call the police department, they'll fix the problem. Call the police department, they'll sit up here in the hospital, call the police department, they'll sit down the street and handle it. And it's not feasible. The guys can't handle it anymore. And that's why we've called this to hopefully get a solution with these other entities to help cover it. Again, I had a probation officer today call and try to have my officers go check on one of their probation officers. And I know people are getting frustrating because I've kind of been pushing back saying, we have enough to do. This is part of your job. If you need our assistance, we'll do that. But we can't do everyone's job for them. We've done it in the past, and we've stayed up into the hospitals for hours trying to help their staff, but we just don't have the manpower anymore. And it's wearing on my officers, it's wearing on us, because we want to help. We do want to help you, but we can't keep up with it. And again, tonight, hopefully, this is just the start of many conversations to come up with a solution for that to help. I'll get into bail reform. Bail reform has seemed to put a lot of career criminals on the street. I'm not a political person. I'm not trying to attack anyone or blame anyone. I know their intentions were good, but it's just seemed to backfire. We are mandated to arrest someone on a petty larceny or a small crime. That's 4 hours of paperwork and the procedure of taking statements from someone, processing them. They have to have their cameras on, and that takes a long time for that to download, and they have to label that, and they have to put all this paperwork together, which is commonly 4 hours for just a small petty larceny, and get that in.
It used to be 45 minutes before this law change.
And they have to get it in with 15 days. So now an officer, as soon as they make that arrest, and they're mandated to release these people on a parent's ticket, these individuals are released, and the officers are back at the station trying to get their mandated paperwork done within 15 days. And those individuals, they don't care because they know nothing's happening to them. So as soon as we walk out that door, they're breaking into people's cars. It's what we're dealing with. We all know you're frustrated. We're frustrated. We know that there's speeders on every street. Canton Street, the big one. DTA, we know it. We just can't get to it. And again, this is why we've called you to kind of help come up with some kind of solution to have you help. I see someone in here tonight. I obviously won't point them out, but I know this person is having an issue with a neighbor that was continually harassing all those neighbors. And we've arrested people time and time again for harassment, and we get order protections. When the order protection's on there, then they violate those order protections. We've arrested them again, and seemingly nothing happens to them. So we will tell those, I've been telling people, sometimes that's not the best solution. Our solution is to arrest. Sometimes it's not the best solution because it makes the situation worse at this point. Because the people are still out on the streets. It just makes them more angry. And again, they do not care if they get arrested. They will be back out on the streets. And that's what we're dealing with. And we're sorry that we can't solve this problem, but hopefully tonight, this is a start of some kind of solution to make things better. Again, the chief had talked about how our staffing levels went down. Again, I'm not political. I'm not blaming anybody for anything. The situation is what it is. But we had 5 officers when we were killing the meth labs that we were leading in the nation, the highest meth lab bus. And we've since went down to now 1 detective. And my stance is, well, let me explain how it worked. We had 1 juvenile officer who was swamped because, let's face it, the juveniles commit a lot of crimes, and that has changed too. There's no deterrent for them anymore. Again, this is my opinion, but there just isn't, and they know it. That juvenile officer was busy all the time, from petty things to just going and talking to the kids at school, and handling serious crimes that the children are committing. Then we had a narco officer who would gather all the intel, work with the road patrols to get more intel, build a case against someone, and then get us all together, all the detectives together. And Streeter says he likes knocking on doors. That's what we did. Then we had a major crimes, which that was me for 7 years. And I would cover most of the major crimes. Homicides, as we know, have gone up in our city. The sex crimes are just as bad as narcotics in our city. And then on top of the burglaries and the big larcenies, and other big crimes that I can't come to mind. There's so many. And we had a detective sergeant. One of us was overloaded with things, on top of making sure we did our job, would take those cases that we couldn't get to and handle those. And then a lieutenant who oversaw us, and then same with him, he'd jump in and help us on top of making sure everything was run correctly. Now it's Detective Streeter, and my stances with him is, I know we have a narcotics, and I'm constantly getting after him because he's trying to get back into that field, and I keep pushing him. Like, you got sex crimes, those come first. I would rather tell the people in the community, I'm sorry about the drug problems, but I have little kids we're telling we're not working on their complaints to handle drugs, and that's, I don't want to give anyone lip service and say, oh, we'll get to it. That's my stance on it, and that's what he's handling. He's got boatloads of it on top of big burglary complaints and other complaints. Not to say that he's not still trying to work the drugs thing, because I'll never be able to slow him down from that. In fact, he gets mad at me from time to time when I tell him to slow down. He's got a sex crime he's got to handle, but we're still handling it. But it's changed. It's the way he did it is, you get an informant, they give us the information, and we build a case and blow in their doors or get them somehow. In some ways, bail reform and the change in police reform has slowed down people from telling us information. So now we have a different way of trying to get to it. We talked about, we know that there's speeders, we know that people are running stop signs, and we're trying to get to those. But we have to make those traffic stops matter. And the traffic stops that we are using are the ones that everyone that's complaining, because every single one of you is, I'm telling you, have some kind of drug dealer, big or small, in your neighborhood. And you have tons of traffic going in now, and we're aware of all of them for the most part. And when the guys have free times, we have some officer on midnights who's an animal, who sits down on the streets, and try to find a reason to pull these vehicles over. Because those stops are the ones that matter. And those are the ones that try to get us into the drugs. So that's where we spend our time. And I'm sorry we can't get to all the speeding. We can't get to all the stop signs, we know. And some of us are us sitting in this room. So all of us are violators of it, to include us. So we got to regulate ourselves too, because you know, for society to work, we're all humans, we're all going to make mistakes, but we all have to check ourselves too. And so these again are some of the issues that we're running into to try to solve these. And again, our solution is to arrest people. We seemingly arrest people, and afterwards, again, this is no blame on judges or DAs. This is not my intentions of saying that, because they also have their hands tied on what they can and can't do. And I know their hands, as far as the DA's office, I know they're short-staffed. I don't even know if they could handle just what we send them, and they have the whole county. So this is not an attack on them. It's just what we're seeing is we're making the arrest and they're back out, making the arrest and they're back out. And we have to continue to look at every single one of you and try to give you lip service to say, we're working on it, we're trying. So that's why the meeting is tonight, is for us to come up with a solution, because we have found, it's been a trend that those of you who have been calling in and having people breaking into your cars or in the area, we found the trend of what the big deterrent is. It's not us arresting them, is people catching them and saying, hey, you're not supposed to be here, and they leave. It's happened to my family. It's happened to my parents recently. Their neighbor was lucky enough to be outside in the middle of the night and caught them trying to catch in their vehicle, or to break into their vehicle. And they left. And that seems to be the common trend after looking at all the incident reports, is that if a community member knows that that person's not supposed to be in their neighborhood and you call them out on it, obviously I want you to do it safely. They're just leaving, and they're not busting windows and vehicles to get in. So we have to make sure we lock our doors. That's another thing that will help us. Make sure your doors are locked. Make sure your valuables are in a building, because if they get that desperate, once they break the window in the vehicle, we now have a felony criminal mischief, which goes much further than a petty larceny of some change out of a car. That criminal mischief, they're more likely to see some time for that. Or when they break into your buildings, which would be a burglary, and they steal something, they're more likely to see some time for that. Again, I don't follow too much what comes afterwards, because I get frustrated as much as everyone else, and I can't speak for what the magistrates and the DA's office, what they have to handle. I know they do have to handle a lot. And again, this is not blame on them. This is just what we're dealing with. So if the community can please make an effort to lock up your valuables. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to, but we do. You do have to. Or your stuff's going to get stolen. Your vehicles are going to be entered. Your property's going to be entered. So with all that information, I'm passing on. I'm hoping we can all brainstorm after this, and people in the community can get together, find one person who takes charge of it, have meetings, have that person come back, talk to Sergeant Price, and come up with some people who can. I'm not familiar with the Neighborhood Watch. I've been doing some research. There's a program that someone pointed my attention to called COPS, which is Citizens on Patrol. It's some as simple as some people volunteering some time and driving around and calling 911 when they see suspicious activity. Again, those people should be familiar with the areas that they're driving around, so they know if those people don't belong. Because what we'll get is some person just walking their dog in the middle of the night. It may seem weird to you that they're up at 3, but some people can't sleep and they can't just walk their dog. So we'll get inundated with some of those complaints that really aren't complaints. And it's simple as sometimes if you just come home from somewhere, just do a loop around the block a couple times to see if there's anything out of place, and call the police if you see somebody that doesn't belong in somebody's property, not walking down the street, but someone that doesn't belong. And we're still doing research ourselves on what the community can participate in, and what other bigger cities have gone to. But we do know the deterrent. We've noticed a trend of deterring people from breaking into properties and vehicles. It's just eyes and people calling them out. Because again, 2 officers on working patrol, we can't be everywhere. And I do know that there is a Facebook group out there that is relaying messages to each other, letting them know where the law enforcement officers are on a regular basis. And we also want this organization to be set up lawfully, because we all swore an oath. We may not disagree with how frustrated you are and what needs to happen, but we also swore an oath to uphold the law. So if you're out there violating against people who are criminals and you're committing crimes against them, we're going to arrest you. Okay, so we want to come up with a plan so no one else who doesn't deserve it gets arrested. So
I'll call it for what it is. It's this Jinx security group on Facebook. Their vigilante justice is not going to be tolerated. We've already arrested one individual for weapons charges. Just the other night, they chased a male in a vehicle pursuit across the city that did not commit a single crime. No one called the police. Someone called in what they thought was suspicious to this group. They chose to chase this person in a pursuit across the city, in personal vehicles with children in the car. They're putting all of you in danger and those kids in danger, more so than any crime that was ever committed. In fact, there was no crime committed. This is not going to be tolerated. we'll set up a legit neighborhood watch through Sergeant Price. And this vigilante group, they're more of a criminals than anyone breaking in these cars. I'll be frank about it, by their actions.
So I also want to address, some of you have an opportunity to know officers that work at the PD closely. We're running into issues where something serious is happening and they're not calling the police department, they're text messaging or emailing the chief or myself. These suspicious things are crimes in progress. And I'll be honest with you, when I'm home, because everyone at our department spends a lot of time at that police department, when I'm at home with my family, I'm sorry, but I don't pay attention what happens in Ogdensburg. When I'm at home, I'm at home. If I get the call from work to come in, I switch hats. And when I'm at work, I'm at work. I don't. And that goes for everybody at our PD. So you got to give them a break. You can't be messaging them because it may not be answered for 5 hours, where if you would have called the station right off the bat, we could have gotten an officer over there to at least identify the person and maybe catch them in a crime. So I ask some of you who are sending the emails, when you see those suspicious activities, to please call the PD and report it so we don't miss it. And again, officers are tired. They're working around the clock to make the PD work 24 hours a day. And we're seriously one injury away from not being 24 hours.
And if I can just quickly touch on that, I know personally I get personal Facebook messages for people that want to file complaints through me. That my personal Facebook is my personal Facebook. I will not accept a message or a friend request from someone I don't know, and I will not answer complaints through social media. If you have an emergency or a complaint, you have to call the police department. I know that the Ogdensburg Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Facebook page gets inundated with people that send them private messages to try to file a complaint through the PBA. The PBA is a separate entity. It's our union. So it's not the police department website. So if you could just please call the actual city police department to file any complaints, whether it's just a simple offense, a violation, suspicious activity, or a crime, just call the police department to file the complaint.
Yep. Contact info is right at the bottom of the agenda. I know there was been some confusion when our dispatch was dissolved, but that 393-1551 number is monitored 24 hours a day. Our officers answer that phone to 11 p.m., but that does roll over to the county dispatch at 11 and for non-emergencies, and they will get a hold of an Ogdensburg officer. And if it is an emergency, dial 911. But I did put on there an email address, detectives@ogdensburg.org. That email address is also connected to the tip line, which is on the city's website. But it is absolutely fine if you want to email just tips of like narcotics activity that might not be, like an ongoing house that might be dealing drugs. By all means, you can email that email address. Detective Streeter loves license plates. He runs every single one. If you email that address, it's monitored daily by either Detective Streeter, the lieutenant, or myself. And like I said, it is monitored. So by all means, that is open to the public to utilize. Please email that with tips.
So again, this is why we called our community here, because we do need help. We can't do it by ourselves anymore. And we're sorry that you pay taxes, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, but we can't keep up with it. So we're asking for your help, hoping somebody can spearhead starting a neighborhood watch or whatever we want to call it. We can call it something different, but it's basically to keep an eye on your neighborhoods, volunteering, and putting people out there and advising us who those people are every night and working alongside us, because I was a little rugrat too when I saw the police car when I was doing wrong things. I hid in a bush and they didn't see me. It's the same for us. It's the same for us. And that goes for the serious crimes too. They got our number. They have they have plenty of people out there watching every move we make, and they have the advantage on us. They just do. That's why we're asking you to turn around and flip that advantage back around. And we're hoping that you as a community can get together. Somebody can spearhead it, people can volunteer. We'll have a sheet, and then maybe have another meeting later to come up with a game plan. But this is just kind of the infancy of what our solution is. Hopefully a solution to some of our problems in the city.
Yeah, we'll let Sergeant Price touch on neighborhood watch. We'll get it started tonight. The large maps, and I think there's some small ones that were passed out as well. This is the neighborhood watch districts. Those are the same as what we call our patrol sectors. They're based on population. I just learned this, but they've been our sectors forever. Each sector supposedly has the same population. So what we call Sector 1 or Neighborhood Watch District 1 is from the Oswegatchie River West, or as we call it, like the New York Ave neighborhood. And between the Oswegatchie River and Patterson Street would be Neighborhood 2. And what we call Sector 3 is from Patterson Street to the Lisbon town line. So by all means, we can divide those neighborhoods up much smaller, but to get a general start, when we have some folks sign up tonight, if you are interested in signing up, we'll just start by signing up by those 3 districts, and then we can divide it into smaller neighborhoods, obviously, from there. So go ahead, Sarge.
So back in 2009, I started the Neighborhood Watch program after I went to the crime prevention school in Saratoga Springs. We actually had quite a few members, and we did it back then. We did it by block. I encourage everyone to get to know and build a rapport with your neighbors. I understand that not every block, every sector, every part of the city has people that you live near that you want to get to know, that you want to be included in this. And obviously we don't want people included in how we're going to process things and how we're going to build this program, that you don't want them knowing your every move, or, if, your neighbor Judy's going out of town for a week on vacation. So because then it obviously gives them that opportunity to possibly break into your home or your shed or your cars, whatever. So how I want to try to start this and get a list of interested people is I will put a list in the back for signups. So this is a list of interest to start with. Just put your name. Don't put your actual address to begin with, because not everybody in here knows everybody, right? So we still have to build that trust with everyone. Get to know your neighbors, your neighborhood, right? So just put your block number and your street address. So like 600 block of Hasbrook or 800 block of New York Ave or whatever. We'll start there. And then telephone or email, how you want to be reached. I know a lot of people probably don't have social media. They don't have email. They're not, internet savvy, right? So you can list your phone number. That's fine as well. I will type up a letter, and I will include a different form for the ones that are interested. The other form is for people that do want to be members and do want to get something going in their sector. So we're doing it by sector to begin with, and then we can maybe break it down to smaller groups if we have that many people interested, or based on area and the need for, smaller groups. Once you sign up on the list, with your name, telephone number, email address, however you want to be contacted, I will then send a letter to you with more information, and it's a household members information form. So I understand people don't want to put, or they feel they shouldn't have to put out certain personal information, right, about their home or household members or their children, whatever. The reason why we ask for this, so anytime we go on a complaint, right, on the road, we go to whether it's a petty larceny or a burglary or a major crime, and we get everyone's names, addresses, date of births, phone numbers, contact information. It's building our system at the police department so we know who lives where and, you know, what their needs might be, or if we are called to a crime at your residence, we know what we're walking into. It's not only for your safety, but it's for our safety as well, right? At the bottom of the form, I put in asterisk, any information you believe the police should know in regard to safety issues within your home. So do you have children that are autistic? Is someone wheelchair bound? Do you have guns in your home? That's something we need to know, because if somebody is breaking into your home, maybe you're not even home, but if somebody in your neighborhood watch program in your block or your area sees a burglary happening, we would like to know that that might be something that they could steal. That might be something we're walking into, that they might be able to get their hands on, any type of weapon, right? So that's just information for our safety as well as yours. So you can disclose that information if you want, or you don't have to, but it's just something I will send to you. And then if you could kindly just return it to the station once you've filled it out, I'll make a copy for our records. And then I would like you to keep, obviously, the copy of it for your block, for your neighborhood block information or your sector. So that way you guys can, you know, build your rapport. So I can help you get it going, but I'm not going to be able to do what I did last time, where I was the one calling all the monthly meetings. I was the one calling all special meetings, going to people's houses to do private meetings or having private meetings at the police department. So I will help you get it set up and show you how to get it working in maybe a, you know, efficient manner. But I definitely suggest filling these forms out. I'll get the letters back, and maybe I'll set up the first meetings for each sector to see how many we have, what areas, what your specific needs might be, and what your goals are for your areas. And then you guys will designate, elect, however you want to go about it. You will set up a monthly meeting or a meeting however often you feel is necessary, weekly, monthly, whatever. And I highly, highly recommend utilizing the city, like our city building. So you have the Dubisky Center. I'm sure they will be happy to work something out where you can set up if you have a large group of people. Obviously, I understand you don't want 25 to 40 people in your personal home, right? That's a lot of people in one small space. But you have the public library. I'm sure that they would be more than willing to let you hold by sector or block or whatever, however you set it up, a meeting. They'll provide you some space, some quiet space, some private space, so that way you can have a more efficient place not to mention it's a public place, right? So it's, you know, you might feel a little more safe.
You can use our building if your group's smaller than 20. We got a small
training room. So, I mean, that's always an option. But again, the city has, you know, places for you that they can provide you that space, especially for something as, you know, important as this. So if you would like to sign up, I'll put the sign up sheet back there. And then I will put the packet of, I have a whole folder of the household members things. If you would like to just take one, fill it out, bring it back to me. I'll make a copy of it and I'll start my own file, obviously, and update our systems. It's good for us. It can be helpful for the fire department. Structure fire, we know who lives in that home, right? And if they have any special needs. So it's not only just to help us and to help you, it's to help all the department agencies. So we're not trying to, like, you know, get into your personal life and your personal business. It just helps us and it helps our data system. So, so we can start there. And I guess just to start off, I know the City of Ogdensburg website has a crime prevention or neighborhood. I think it's under crime prevention. It's a little blurb almost. The Journal used to put it in every so often about crime prevention, ways that just basic crime prevention things that you can do to protect yourself. So for instance, winter months are coming, right? So we have homeless population. They're going to be outside. They're going to be looking to hunker down somewhere. Lock your outbuildings or put a lock on your outbuildings. I know I've gone to complaints before where they didn't even have a lock on their shed. People can easily get into that, right? And they're looking for warmth. They're looking for shelter. Front doors, windows, make sure everything's locked. Vehicles is a huge thing. We have had so many break-ins to vehicles, and they don't necessarily steal something. Maybe there's nothing in your car. Maybe you're one of the people that don't leave valuables in your car, but during the holidays, don't leave valuables in your car. Oh, I'm tired from getting back late from shopping. Well, bring your $1,000 worth of Christmas presents in your home, because if they see that stuff, if they visibly can see it and your doors are unlocked, they're going to take it. If it's not nailed down, whether it's bikes, your lawnmowers, like anything, they take everything, right? They're just looking for quick stuff to take. They can get in and out. So our job as a community is to deter crime. So lock your windows, lock your doors, make sure everything's locked up, get to know your neighbors, build a rapport if you're going away on vacation. We do have a vacant property checklist. We get to them as much as we possibly can, but again, like the last few nights I've worked, it's just been me and one other officer, and we were going call to call to call to call. I didn't have time to even stop at the station and get something to eat or use the bathroom, and that's how it typically is sometimes on night shifts. So we'll try to get to the vacant property checks. We'll try to get to the business checks, but not every night. But at least if we know that you're going to be gone between a specific date and time, we'll know to at least go over and make a few checks, make sure that your doors are still locked, there's no windows smashed out, your property, nothing looks suspicious, right? Or again, that's also part of neighborhood watch. Build the rapport with your neighbors. If you're comfortable with them having a key, let them allow to go around your house and look. And if something looks suspicious, don't go in, call us, we'll go and we'll do what we need to do as police officers. But the biggest thing is the safety against your own property. So your homes, your vehicles, your valuables, you got to lock your cars and your houses. If you do see something, obviously call us. We don't recommend you approaching someone, like physically approaching them. We don't want any confrontation with someone you don't know. You don't know what they're capable of. We might know who they are because we deal with them all the time, but people can obviously change in, demeanor at the snap of a finger. So just call us, let us handle it as far as that's concerned, especially if you see someone actively breaking into a home. Don't chase them into a home. Don't do anything like that. But if you see something, definitely say something. Identity theft protection. So one big thing I like to tell people, I don't know if a lot of people use GPS anymore, because I know that we have GPS on our phones, but there has been times where, even on your phones, so I don't label anything in my phone that says, daughter, son, sister, brother, mom, dad. It just has their actual name. That way, if somebody gets a hold of my phone and they can hack into it or something, they don't have, my mom's phone number or my dad's phone number or addresses. GPSs is a huge thing. When you send a GPS, a lot of people label it as home or mom's house, dad's house. So when you leave valuables, like I said before, in your vehicle, your car's unlocked, somebody steals your GPS. Now they have all these different locations that you go to, or whether it's banks or whatever, you might have some private information in there that you don't want these people to have. So same thing goes with the phones now. So just simple basic things that you can do to try to protect yourself. I know that a lot of people use online mobile banking, but those have passwords. Just don't save your passwords. I know that a lot of people like to save their stuff in there so they can just automatically connect to it. Type your password in every time so that way it's not in there. So that's an easy, fix for that. So we'll start there. If you're interested, you can sign up in the back. I wish I would have, I don't think I put my email on the bottom of this. I think I just have the police department number.
Why don't we just start with this for now?
So yeah, we'll start with this. And then once you do this, the letter that I sent you, I'll actually put my email on there. That way we have better contact, like email contact, even if it's just something simple. You have a question about the program or whatever. So we'll set up this, we'll see how many people are interested by sector, and then we'll maybe set up another meeting by sector, get everybody there. You guys can elect or nominate who the lead person will be, the lead contact person. If you see something in progress, we want you to call the police or 911 immediately, right? But if it's just, and I'm gonna have Detective Streeter actually touch on some of the stuff that we look for as far as suspicious activity, so it gives you a better idea of what we're looking for from you. like vehicles, descriptions, areas, stuff like that. But then I'll meet with you. We'll set up a meeting. You can nominate, and then that person will be your point of contact for me. If there's anything that you specifically need that you can't get, or information you need, or if you have an issue that you can't seem to get a grasp on or handle on your own in your own neighborhood, then obviously I'll be your point of contact, your liaison for that part. So, okay.
You just want to touch on some suspicious things that are suspicious.
As opposed to not suspicious.
I think everything's suspicious. I don't have anything prepared for this kind of thing. I would like to point out, as far as what we call car shopping, 99% of the time, they're not breaking out windows. Okay, they are running, they walk up, they'll check the door handles. If the car's unlocked, they're going in it. If the car's locked, they just move on to the next car. So please, and I've forgotten it as well, please remember to lock your cars up. They're not going to break your window out. I mean, we never see that. They don't want that kind of attention. It's going to be loud. Just please make sure your car doors are locked. I mean, as far as suspicious, if it's a warm day outside and people are walking around and their hoods up, that's suspicious to me. And a lot of people in the city are doing it, mostly because they don't want their identity seen by the police, who know that they probably have a warrant, things like that. When it comes to nighttime, there's so many people walking around with their hoods up, a backpack on. And it's one thing if we know them. A lot of you guys, you're not going to know who these people are, but your communities, like Sergeant Price was saying. And if there's people that they're just not supposed to be there, you don't see them there during the day, you know who lives in the houses around you. I mean, again, we get calls all the time for someone suspicious. And a lot of times it turns out to be absolutely nothing. But again, if it is something and you don't make the call, nothing's done about it.
It may just deter them when we show up. They were probably planning something. As soon as we show up and question them, then they're out of there. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Again, after listening to the chief, the lieutenant, and sergeant, I have thousands of things just rolling through my head right now. I would like to point out, I know there's a lot of people with my personal work email, and they send me a lot of license plates. They send me names. Please don't stop doing that. Like, I'm not able to get to that thing. I can't make projects out of these people, and that's what I want to do, but I don't have time because of all the other major crimes. And there are a lot of major crimes going on in Ogdensburg right now. Sex cases are just unbelievably high right now. Please don't stop sending those. We've got the detective email as well. We'll certainly keep checking that. Back when I was allowed to really focus on narco work, I wasn't smart enough to just go home and like do family home things. So I pretty much would stay working 24/7, and it burns me out quickly. But again, work emails go to my phone. I'm trying to set boundaries, as a lieutenant makes me do. But again, if you see something and it seems active, please call the police. If you've got decent information on houses, I know a lot of people, they want to talk about houses, and they talk about a lot of traffic there. And by traffic, not necessarily cars, but a lot of foot traffic. Some of these houses are legitimately hotspots for drug activity, possibly dealing. A lot of them are just flop houses because there's a large group of homeless people. They are bound by the fact that they don't have homes. They're bound by the fact that they have drug addiction problems, and they bounce around all these places in the city. I'm not saying we can't do anything about those houses, but we can only do so much. And when there's only 2 people working the midnight shift, and I reach out to them and I say, hey, can you please focus on this house? Knowing that, like Sergeant Price was saying not that long ago, they're just going call to call to call. I mean, we've got all of these issues that we know about, but the phone never stops ringing at OPD. It never stops ringing.
The night of the murder alone on Patterson Street, Patrolman Price, it was her shift. They were wrestling around with a mental health patient, and that's why the state police had to show up first. So that's,
And the only reason they were there is because I specifically requested a state unit to respond to our city to assist my only one other officer on the road while I took a juvenile up for, for assistance. And he had to make an arrest at the same time. And that was the only reason we had a state unit even close by. So I would have been stuck at the hospital and we would have had no one. So
we'll open it up for the open discussion and questions. How do you want to do that?
Podium right here, microphone is on so everyone can hear you, but any discussion or questions?
I'd like to know, as a community, what can we do to get more help from the police department? We need you, and we cannot have you if you are killing yourselves doing the things that are happening around here. I am born and raised here, and I have to say this is the worst of violence for New York.
I appreciate that sentiment. Well, we are in the middle of a budget. City council is working hopefully diligently on making a budget for 2024. We have no cuts to the police department this year, but it appears there are no hires. The next council meeting is November 13th.
When we protest,
Go ahead, man.
are there any federal grants that we apply for?
Oh.
I know there was talk at a couple council meetings where there was a grant that would have brought 5 officers.
Yeah, so the question is there any federal grants? So the only hiring grant for police officers was called the COPS grants, Community Oriented Police grants through the Department of Justice. I've applied for that 2 years in a row. We still have not heard about the award for fiscal year 23. I have emailed actually yesterday morning a contact through Senator Kirsten Gillibrand's office, hoping that they could inquire into that matter to see where we're at. We asked for 2 officers for that grant for fiscal year 23. We were denied last year.
I'm a retired state correctional, state veteran. Can't some veterans and retired officers be utilized in school programs or anything to free up police officers? Can we not be used on a volunteer basis?
So in our school district, the school 100% funds 3 police officers, and that's the school district's decision to fund police officers. And if they didn't fund police officers, those officers wouldn't be working for the police department. So it wouldn't increase our staffing if they chose to go another route per se, whether it was volunteers or security guards or even another law enforcement entity. We wouldn't gain those 3 police officers back to the police force. Appreciate you wanting to volunteer. Community watch. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're out of the area for 30 years. Real jail. Sing Sing. Green Haven. Downstate. I'm tired. I thought I'd come back. Augsburg, the city I grew up in. And live the rest of my days here peaceful. And it's far from peaceful. Far from peaceful. My neighborhood. Get 3 or 4 days ago, kicking my door in my garage, trying to get the garage door. It must be a track star. It's gone in a heart.
No, we're not getting any younger either.
That's a fact.
Any other questions? Go ahead, sir. Yes.
Are you gonna be taking, like, are you gonna be negative light or prevent them to be more law abiding?
Well, actions speak volumes. So, they're more than welcome, instead of hiding behind a private Facebook group, to come down to the Ogdensburg Police Department and speak to me and their lieutenant about what they can legally do and not do. I can't approach them because I'm not invited. Go ahead.
Mr. Kearns, staff, thank you for coming. Another part of your ride, that's known for senior citizens and disabled people. Our president wanted to do, like, you have to check your neighbors and things like that. Well, back in July, we had a guy that passed away. Guy got Tuesday morning. We didn't find him until Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. All right, he was just as black as black. Okay, rigor mortis is 2 hours after death. Your officers were at Parkview Ride at 10:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, you talk about cutting staff short. That day they were there.
That's.
Our director, Michelle Levis, I mean, I give her a lot of credit in the world. Same guy going back on this one. She's got a list of where we use and Parkview. So everybody's most on it. 55 years. We can't ask everybody to go there. Very fun. So how do you combat it? You do it in the day, or couldn't help that. Parkview. 2 weeks ago. The maintenance guy went over and he says, you can take the key anyway, from my heart. So we did the work hard way.
Yeah, that goes to say what the lieutenant was saying. A lot of these subjects. Mhm.
I know a lot of people have done this list. Don't know. There's a lot of them you got. Don't know.
Unfortunately, though, when they do come, you got people in our building sneaking down, pushing that open button. We can't see who did it, the way the camera says.
Well, that's a problem we can discuss further with the housing authority. That's a security issue with those buildings specifically. But we can work on that.
I would say, for me, you understand. And I would be more understandable if meth houses in my neighborhood were pop-up meth houses that just disappeared. But we're talking, I've been in my house for 5 years. There's been a meth house there for 5 years, and nothing went right across the street. A couple weeks ago, there's a big ballot painted on the house, something about heroin. I mean, and it posted on Facebook. Like, in this time, you don't have time to drive by, make park out front. You guys are short people. Park your cars. Not that terrible. Put them in. Like, you gotta look outside the house.
That's why we're here, to hopefully get some ideas.
This is like 2.5 years. I have a balcony. Like, all I do is just watch them all day. It's not a flop. It's not a flop.
And Todd, there's probably 50 other people that had the same issue that, again, 2 officers. And that's why we're trying to come up with a solution to help solve it.
Use your cars, park them out front of the house. You got paperwork. You pick it up in front of their house. Like, time in, you guys got to think outside the box.
We can't do paperwork in our cars though. It's all stuff that, it's singular complaints, yes. That is just in our it's called Spillman. It's just the computer system that the county uses. Basic complaints, yes. But when it comes to actual paperwork that has to get sent over, like charging, like file, like our information that charges somebody, it's, essentially all the case file, which case files can be this thick or thicker. Sometimes we have boxes because that's how big the case is. That's all stuff that has to be done at the station.
I rarely ever see a cop. And that's the ones I do live around the corner. Probably. And I know I did 21 years in the Army, short the whole time. I still had to make a mission. You can't accept what's happening. You can't.
We can't either, Todd. We can't. And it sometimes it takes years to get in these houses. And we can't divulge what we're working on now, but sometimes it takes years.
This house sells heroin straight. What more do you guys want? more do you want? They did come.
We,
Like, this is what my kids have to see. Like, honestly, I didn't want to come here and get emotional, but I've had, just like everybody else had. And you sat here and listen to that, you know you're short, you know all. But, like, something has to give, like, DA was up here grading stuff. Throw them in the loop in some of these houses, like, just bust one or two every month or so, just get these guys, like, something to think about.
it's not as simple as that.
We're aware, I wish we could bust a house every week or two, or a month or two. I wish we could do one a year.
I mean, Operation Break Train was when I first moved home.
Yeah.
This is nuts. This
I
is
agree.
nuts. Somebody like me who has been employed, all these guys are outside doing this shit, like, I have no, like, I don't know, I'm telling you. I don't know, the way shit happens around here, like, something bad.
I'm on the same page with you.
Mrs. Sergeant?
I'd just like to say, if you're really upset, and it sounds like a lot of people are upset, you need to come to the city council meeting and you need to face these people. Right now, they're going with no hiring. They're not going to hire anybody if it passes. So you need to come here and you need to sit like a bunch of us have been doing. And it's not easy because it's a surface, but you have to sit here and listen and make your thoughts known.
Sir?
Yeah. You get a new city council, you get a new mayor. You hopefully elect the That's not new to you guys, and the name on that door isn't new to you guys. The neighbors over there have been preaching that name to you, and somebody in your department told them they're waiting for the big guy. So, you know, that's not right. And Sector 3, does that mean you're patrolling the state hospital?
Yes, the state hospital grounds is in the city limits. Any crime that occurs at the state hospital is under our responsibility. Anything that happens at the U.S. Port of Entry is our responsibility. The state hospital has more officers at it than the city of Ogdensburg does. Well, essentially, it's up to the director of each state psychiatric center whether or not they want to allow those peace officers to use their peace officer status. For years and years, this state hospital has decided not to allow their peace officers to use their peace officer status. So we conduct every investigation at the state hospital. Yep, and I don't know if there's any representatives here from, I did invite Senator Walczyk and Assemblyman Gray, but those would be the subjects to speak to. But yeah, we handle every investigation out there from a minor fender bender up to there has been homicides that have occurred on those grounds. So we handle everything on the state facility.
See, we have a lot of angry citizens, and my question, like this gentleman said, is something bad's going to happen. So y'all tell us, how far are we allowed to go to protect ourselves? Because if someone tries to come into my house and I call you and I'm waiting for you to get there, I'm not going to let them come into my house and hurt my family.
You have the right to defend yourself or a third party. And I will remind you that our response time is still under 2 minutes.
And that's fine, but I'm supposed to just sit there and go, okay.
No one is saying that, and we have not said that message at all tonight. In fact, we say if you call for help, we're still going to respond. In fact, we're asking you to call. That's been our message all night long.
My question is, how far are we allowed to go?
I can't give legal advice other than that. If you read Article 35 of the New York State Penal Law, you're allowed to protect yourself in a third party.
Which means, honestly, which means what?
You should probably contact
an attorney. I can't give that type of legal advice. I can't do that.
Or my house.
Yep.
You said earlier that you know the people that in your neighborhood. I have a drug house across the street. There's different faces every week. There's different faces every day. So how am I supposed to know who's supposed to be there?
So part of the neighborhood watch program, and when you get it set up, that's what we're looking for. So your point of contact, whoever you nominate or elect to be your team leader, we want descriptions: blonde hair, white, black, Asian.
Pictures work.
Pictures work great. Plate numbers, vehicle descriptions, and we ask for plate numbers and vehicle descriptions because obviously we understand that people switch plates, right? So any descriptive type of information that you can get to your point of contact, dates, times that it's occurring, so we can, at least have an idea of when a lot of the activity is, right? So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. So if you can get that information to your team leader, and then they can either email me or we can set up a monthly meeting, or however you guys decide that you want to do
And
it.
again, and when you see something that's suspicious, getting all that stuff that you may not know that's suspicious and writing it down, eventually that pattern does become suspicious, and
Yep.
you talk with us and we can build a case. But when you see that suspicious activity, when you do know it's suspicious, sometimes that's when we can stop it. That call right then and there.
Walking up the hill, pushing a brand new white bike, and I know that they don't look. There's no way she bought that. But she had a bag on the bike, huge bag. She had a bag on her shoulder and a backpack, of course. Because she hadn't been there when she got a backpack. Maybe I put one on, but they go. But I already know what her house is like, so really not interested. So, but yeah, she was walking up with the bikes. It's like, damn it, I wish you would have brought my camera out, I mean, I just got out. But you see that all the time. And after she got to the house later on that afternoon, we took 2 bikes inside. How they got 2 bicycles inside that house, with people that are in there, I have.
And we understand that this property probably is stolen, and that's why we're trying to express to everyone that lives in the city, because this is where we patrol and we handle all the complaints. We need you guys to understand that you need to lock your stuff up, whether it's a shed or bring your bikes inside, or because if they see a bike, they're going to take it to get from point A to point B faster. And vehicles, we've had a lot of stolen vehicle complaints because people are leaving their keys in their cars unlocked. So you need to protect your property just as much as you need us to assist you with, protecting your community.
It's just the way they walk the street over there, they don't know where they are. I know where they are, but they don't have a clue. It's scary. If you don't know what they've done, you don't know where they're going.
No, and we understand that. And I guess in our hopes by trying to get the neighborhood watch program reinstilled throughout the whole city because of everything that is going on and how things are changing, for you guys to be our eyes and ears, it helps us. And we're just hoping that you guys can have a better understanding of how to protect yourself and what we can do for you.
Well, that's what we hope the
Yep.
next meeting can get to. So we're gonna.
Suggestion I had was get a bus, take up a collection. Go outside the police station when you get these schools, put them on a bus, let's send them to home.
Mr. Pontiac, you had your hand up, I saw. Did you still wanna?
I'm just gonna say that I'm involved in that with Black Panthers. And I just wanted to make sure to clarify that it's an eyes and ears, not up walking the streets confronting you. Because I think you're gonna get less people interested in signing up for something, if they think you're supposed to be walking the streets. Because I don't think there's a lot of people here that are gonna.
So we obviously, community safety and safety of the residents is huge. And I know that some incidents happened back when you were the crime prevention officer in Neighborhood Watch. And then I took on when you became chief. And then I started it. Community policing, I know in some areas doesn't work because of certain, whatever reasons, right? Whether it's Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, whatever. They have their own ways of doing their neighborhood watch programs. I think what our goal is if that's something that you guys want to do, we can't tell you that you can't community police. We can't tell you that you can't be out there driving around or walking around with flashlights and looking for things, but we need to know that you're out there, because if we get a suspicious person complaint and it's you because they don't know you're out there and we don't know you're out there, and we go rolling up on you thinking that you're the culprit or the suspect or whoever is that's committing the crime, you're putting yourself at risk, right? So we're trying to open up a line of communication between our residents, our community members, and our police department, so we know who's out there, what they're doing. So if you are out there driving around, that's something that your sector wants to instill. Certain people are doing certain night shifts or day shifts or whatever it is you guys set up, right? We want to know. So whether it's you giving us a call and saying, I'm going to be in this vehicle from these hours, and I'm just going to be driving around, community policing. We need to know that, so that way we don't roll up on you because we get a suspicious person call that a vehicle is driving around your sector and it's suspicious, and you might be casing the place when you're not. You're just actually there trying to protect the people. So that's where we're trying to do, is setting something up in that aspect. Well, nobody should be going in people's yards, but if you're walking up and, yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're hoping to get and once you get your sector going, we obviously, like I said, we encourage you to utilize city businesses or entities like the library or Dubisky Center to set up your monthly meetings. It's a public safe place, right? Set up a tree, whether it's through social media, through however you guys want to do it, an email group or something, or text messaging group. When you guys do get it set up, have that tree, so that way you guys are letting each other know what's going on, when you're doing it, who's doing it, what times. So that's all stuff that we'll talk about at, a more full-on meeting as far as by sector.
We have a couple more minutes left. Let's, yep.
They flash each other, they're in the street, they got their phone. Why isn't there street lights working on every street? Street I live on, I know there's one light. That's a lot of dark streets for them to hide.
Right, that's probably a question you could probably reach out to the DPW who's responsible, or DOT, depending on where.
So I know people will call in complaints that, hey, my street light's out, and then we'll put a complaint on file, and then we notify DPW the next morning. Obviously, from there on, we don't. What was that? There are cameras all over, but not everyone's cameras work.
Well, we would run almost into like a invasion of privacy if we put a ton of cameras up and into people's yards. People wouldn't like that. Some people wouldn't, some people would. And it comes
on the street lights,
and it comes at a cost too. So
yeah, so that's something the city would have to instill, not the police department. That's something that you can suggest to city council members then.
In the back.
My name is Olivia Patterson. I'm here on behalf of Senator Mark Walzek. I appreciate sending the invitation. I'm glad that I can be here on his behalf. I have been taking notes. Everyone's been speaking, and I appreciate the feedback. I will be certain to share that with the senator. We will certainly help with anything we can. I know someone had mentioned the state hospital. I do have a business card from the back. I'd like to stop by and say something to me at the end, and I can give you our card with our office number on. And we will, like I said, do anything we can to help the state of Martinsburg that's within our jurisdiction. Because the senator has been certainly understands your concerns as citizens. And we're only a phone call away, like I said, I have the cards. We're always there to help the city.
Thank you.
You had Senator look into the grant that the chief has.
Yes, we have a great relationship with our senators, and I wrote that down.
Yeah.
Make this really quick. They have one that's like self-saving a lot. One to 10 and there's what after that. The vacant structures and property checks, and the public check that not on the property, not in the property, but like, can we get a list of the vacant properties?
I don't think I would release that, no.
And the churches are also, would also be a great place for things like this.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Parks need to be surveilled also.
Yes.
A lot of unhoused people in parks. The state grants, would it help at all? You said you've applied for the last 2 years. Would it help at all if you had more significant public support behind you when you apply? And how would we do that?
So essentially, part of that grant is, the question was, would more public support help with our application to the COPS grant? So you have to have a strategic partner or partners, because it's community policing. The strategic partner for us in this grant was the Valley Recovery Center. And part of the program that we designed was, because you have to do some sort of community outreach, and it was all designed that we hired 2 more officers. We could outreach more to those who are unhoused, and because we deal with them on our day to day and offer them resources as we already do. So that's it in a nutshell, anyways.
How do you coordinate with many organizations?
Yes. So yeah, more letters of support for sure would definitely help. Go ahead.
All right, in regards to the psych center, us helping the psych center, we've got rock votes. We're lucky to still have that, and we have a lot of people that work there. I think working together with the OP, the bridget floor, and with the psych center and everybody else is wonderful. We have the resource staff, maybe they can reach out to people to help us, rather than us sitting here raising our hand trying to figure out what's going on. Ask them if they can help us get more, procure more officers. If I'm not mistaken, the city council voted down looking for a grant writer that maybe could have helped us in some of these areas. That was our council that voted that down. A grant writer would have been awesome to have in the different areas where we're hurting right now. But I wouldn't run to the psych centers, because we need to be there and we need them as much as they need us.
That's very true. Simply answer the question on why do we patrol out there and why do we investigate the crimes? And that's simply because the director does not allow police officers to use their police officer status, and that's the answer. And that's why we have to.
Nikki, you can help.
Go ahead.
We mentioned that a lot of the robberies in town, maybe from the homeless people, just for survival. Is there any programs in place for helping them, getting them places to live, maybe providing food for them?
Yes, there is. There's lots of programs in place. And this is experienced only from the police department, but when we offer help, a lot of times these people don't want it. And when they do, and when they're ready, they have to go to social services first, and they have to basically be declared that they're homeless. And once they file that paperwork, it opens up a whole new world to them. And the struggles that we find is they have to be willing to go over to Canton, and they can get there for free. They can get bus tokens. There's other ride services that can get them there, but they have to be willing to.
We have an issue in a business where people are wanting to shower every day. And we obviously, I think all you guys.
Yep.
Get these people out.
I was just given some pamphlets from actually from the Valley Recovery Center just on Monday night. I have a ton of them at the police department if you want to pop down anytime. Yep. Go ahead.
I understand the Mercer Island Medicine Place, like you're saying, a lot of these people don't want to help, private help at the time. I've offered to buy groceries, I've offered to get them in rehab. I only had one person take me up on groceries, and as soon as I delivered groceries, they had them. So, yeah.
I mean, it's not that we're trying to help these people. I mean, I've paid out of my pocket a $75 cab ride to get them over to a different village to where they had a family member where they could say they just didn't have a ride because obviously I can't go outside the city. I've paid for people. I've bought people food. It's not that we're not trying to help these people. We offer them the services, but a lot of people will not leave this area that are homeless they already have DSS services. They just refuse to go to their apartment that's in a different village because they want to be here. They're not comfortable with leaving this surrounding and the people that they're affiliated with. So it's not that we're not trying to help people. It's just that they're refusing our assistance.
Right here.
Would be against something like that. How bad do you think that the targeting of people
So you're talking about retaliation. So that's always been an issue with Neighborhood Watch and calling in complaints. So we get a lot of people that call in anonymous complaints. Depending on what type of complaint it is, though, we have to have a victim or a complainant, right? So it just helps us. I mean, you can tell us that you want to remain anonymous, but try not to get angry with the officers when they're asking for your personal information, because we might have to reconnect with you at some point to get further information. So I can't promise you, and none of us can promise you, that people aren't going to retaliate against you. It's how, obviously all you people are here for a reason. You're concerned about your community and how things are changing and evolving. So if you're here because you want to be involved and you have that, you're ready to take that step and to be a part of your community and, set up this Neighborhood Watch program and stick with it. Once they see that everybody's watching, we've got all these programs now, that's going to deter them from maybe going to certain areas. And our goal is to push them out, right? To push them outside the city, to get them away from here. Now, Neighborhood Watch is not a fix-all. We can't, they're recommendations. Anything that we talk about up here, they're recommendations. We can never say to you, nope, if you do this, a crime will never be committed against you. That's not what we're here for. We don't have the mindset. We don't know what these people's desires are. Whether, like Chief Kern said, some of these people are just homeless and they're looking to hunker down in a warm place. They're not trying to commit any crimes against you. They're just trying to find a safe space to sleep, or maybe looking for some food, dumpster diving, or because I know a lot of businesses are sick of people dumpster diving, but it's because they're looking for that expired food that they throw out that still might be good for them to eat, but it's food for them because they don't have money. So we understand your concerns as far as your fear of retaliation, but if you don't tell us what's going on in your area and you're not reporting it, we don't know what's going on. So, we feel bad when people call and they get really angry with us and they scream at us on the phone and swear at us, but we understand their frustration. But if we don't know what's going on in your community because you're not calling in the complaints, you're not calling in whatever's going on, we don't know what's happening, because we're out there just, we're going call to call and, doing investigations and, the other 100 million things that we have to do. So that's why we need you guys to, let us know what's going on.
In the back corner. I did not.
So it's in our system, and obviously if say a crime's committed and we make an arrest, right? And you're the caller. Well, you're the person that observed it. So you might be called as a witness down the road, maybe not. It's, some things go to trial, some things don't. But we can't tell you that, no, it's your stuff is completely anonymous, because at some point you may have to come forward.
That was part of the discovery law changes. Somebody has to be a complainant on a crime. If you call something is just anonymous, yes, we can respond, but if we don't observe it, and yes, clearly a crime was committed, who was the witness to it? I mean, who's going to provide that information? If we make an arrest, they're going to have your information in 15 days. And that's the changes in the discovery laws.
100% it is.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Power in numbers. So if I'm understanding it right, we all join together and we're taking our city back. And somebody that reports a crime won't be standing alone, because you'll have the entire neighborhood watch behind them.
Hey, there's a good name for the new Neighborhood Watch program. City of Ogdensburg.
And that's what we're trying to get across. That's what we're trying to get across. It may seem like we're coming up with excuses, but here's the facts, Jack. We can't keep up with it. That's why we're here, to have people volunteer to help us come up with a different way of policing, because it hasn't been working the last 2 years, clearly. And no matter how many times we make an arrest, those people we're still dealing with and you're dealing with. So again, the more people that can volunteer, great. We understand your concerns and your safety concerns. We're also concerned with that too. That's why this is the infancy stage of a program we can start all together and come up with some good ideas with our knowledge of the law or the resources we can reach out to figure out those things. And you and the community also have good ideas that sometimes we're, as police officers, we're tunnel visioned ourselves. So.
Far back corner.
Thank you for not quitting, walking out. Thank you for caring about
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So I believe there is I'm not a part of it.
Officially, no. And I guess there's an unofficial Facebook page out there, but anything that would be official becomes again part of a case file, and it becomes part of discovery, and therefore becomes attached to a case file, and is entitled to a defense attorney. So it adds to being one more thing that we would have to check on every case, instead of just checking as needed. I mean, we're aware that there's an unofficial Facebook page out there that we may or may not check. So
So basically, if somebody has an actual serious crime that you're doing, do you want us emailing our footage to you to the department?
We want you to come in and file a complaint if you see the crime and bring in that data.
A lot of people say, well, I don't want to submit my things to the police department because blah, 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 whatever. But is that a good avenue for somebody to be able to report things and still file a report so you got it?
So are you asking?
So you have the email address.
Correct.
Is that a good place for people to be able to provide their security camera footage to you so that you've got it?
Yes, but if a crime's being committed, we would need a witness and a victim to report it in order for it to be a charge. So if people are just sending in video footage, they're committing crimes, but we don't have a witness or a victim in the case, we don't have a case.
And when,
Yep.
and just to clarify a little bit more to that too. So a victim is either the owner of something, right?
Yeah.
The household owner, the property owner, or whatever. So if you're calling in for something that happened down the street, you're not the victim. You're just you're the witness.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of times people will call in complaints for other people. Well, this person was just victimized. Go arrest that person. Well, that's not, we have to talk with the actual owner of it or whatever. So just so you guys are aware of that, because I know we get a lot of calls.
Councilor Scamperly.
You know, you're talking about the city council. Ultimately, that's how this problem is. That's 4 years. You have low members of council that are on their way out the door, anybody can watch it. Year after year, they cut their police. I like to think I've been standing with you guys, trying to keep this. But this, November 13th is the next council meeting. I would love to see twice as many. I don't know if it'll do any good. We've had full houses and they just ignored the public. And talk down, poor Brenda goes through it almost every week, gets in a little fight with the mayor. But there's an important bill that is about overriding the tax cap. And I'm very, very worried. It's almost sinister, their action. It's almost, if it's not sinister. I'm very worried they're not going to pass this bill. If they don't pass the tax cap override, we're going to say goodbye to workload. It's that detrimental. There's a public hearing that night trying to encourage people, I'm trying to encourage you to tell them they need to pass. Not only that, while you're up there, ask for one, please. Because it's ridiculous. You lose a guy or a gal, police officer, because of an injury or anything else, we don't have 24 hours. That's how bad. And they don't even care. They don't even care. It's silly as far as. It's terrible. They're out the door on December 31st, that is it. Hopefully we're gonna do something.
Make sure you vote. Get out and vote.
Show up on November 13th and just stand up for a minute and say we want to support this tax cap override and we want you to up the number of police in this city. And don't be afraid to say if it thinks it's tax raise, because it's just cut it again on this budget. And it's like, against being promised, they forgot the other half where they said, we're not going to affect public safety. And they've affected public safety. So if you can show up and just say a few words, I need your support. Mike Powers and I stand alone trying to keep police, trying to have police, doing it, fight this fight. And, well, thank you.
So real quick for our online viewers or web viewers, just because I know you're not gonna be able to sign up, if you could just kindly call the police department at some point, and just ask for my email. Send me an email, and then I will make contact with you. Because obviously they're not here to
I
sign
will
up
put
for
that
it.
on the community, the city website. I'll put Sergeant's email and information out there and a copy of that form as well. So if no one has it here, if you're online, you'll be able to print it off the city website. We'll take care of that in the morning. We'll close up the meeting at this point. Sergeant will pass everything out here, and I thank everyone for attending tonight. We greatly appreciate your support.
Thank you for your support, everyone.
Chief. What am I signing? Absolutely. Appreciate you coming in. Sorry. Well, I definitely don't think the neighborhood watches enough, but I think it would certainly help. I think it would make people feel better at this point. But I mean, whether the city council wants to hire 30 officers, if there's no money to do it, there's no money to do it. That's a big problem. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think the neighborhood watch is a good start to just get more eyes out there. And obviously, we're doing what we can to get better staff. So we can. Well, I mean, I think there's some of those. I mean, they have made it clear that they don't care about police officers and, depleting the department. I feel like they've made that clear. But at the same time, if there's not extra money to hire more cops, there's no way to hire more cops, which is why we're looking at the grants and things like that. So, Trevor, appreciate you coming. And, as far as the question earlier about retaliation, even even if you're just calling us, giving us a tip, it's something we can try to act on, that helps for the not call. I don't want anyone in this room confronting people and, putting themselves in some sort of harm's way. Like, leave that for me, because I'm typing that. You know what I mean? I don't want other people getting hurt.
It's just, I know that's so if it
Sure. I mean, again, the bigger picture for me personally is
So, yeah, a little ball file. I'm sure if you start calling at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, he's probably gonna get sick of me. Probably fix it. And that's the way to get it done. Make, well, that's what we're annoyed by your tenants, because they're doing this and this. We want our neighborhood to be quieter and safer.
I don't think so.
So deal with it, or I'm gonna call you every time. Well, if she's got a decent rapport with them, then that's probably the best case scenario as far as him taking the action to get those type of people out. Because once he evicts one, he's got to evict everyone. Squatters. Squatter rights. No problem. Just keep calling.
Someone came up with a phone number here?
Yep, absolutely. Or just, like, I just my email.